Hey, everybody. This is Heather Lockett, and I'm with Lasting Conversations. Today, we have the fabulous Tamika Taylor. Hi, Tamika.
Hello.
We are together here in the studio, and Tamika has her own podcast, which we'll get to in just a second. But her main work is as an educator here in Florida, South Florida, with the Palm Beach County School District. And you have a group also called the Impact Achievement Learning Center.
Yes.
So welcome and welcome. We're going to really dive deep today because the topics, and they are topics plural, all have to do with the kids and how we can better serve children of our community. And your wheelhouse is in dyslexia, and is it also other learning disadvantages? Or so tell us a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do, and we're going to dive right in.
Okay. My name is Tamika Taylor. I am the owner of Impact Achievement Learning Center, and I have been in education for the last over 8 years. And it all started from, I was a director of a gym. And then one day I had this epiphany, like I need more. I was really good at it, but it was something missing. So you ever have that feeling in your heart, like
there's something missing? Janine and I were just talking about that. That's on the show that just dropped, where you have to take a leap and you start hearing a nudge, or maybe your body starts feeling a certain way, whatever that is. And you're going, something's going to change. I'm not sure what it is, but something is going to, or we get kicked into it, whether we like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And so for me, that's exactly what it was. And I got kicked out, basically, into what I was supposed to do.
And you're a mother of 4 boys. Is that correct?
I am. I am a mother of 4 boys.
Okay.
And they're all 4 in college now.
Oh,
Last 2 left this past August.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's a big deal. And I wanted to throw that in for other context, because to do raising of children, raising of boys, all the schooling and whatever else is part of their background, these are all these little impetuses to bring us to where we need to go next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were my first project.
That's
So if I said I can get through these 4 boys, I can take on any kids. But yeah, it was that communication, that loving, nurturing, even though I was a single parent, that took us to now where we're at with them. So I use that and I implement that even in my schooling as an educator. But yeah, I got into the school system and I thought it'd be easy teaching.
Well, God bless you for that. I thought it'd be easy teaching.
No, I taught 2nd grade.
Yeah.
And then I realized I couldn't do the curriculum. I'm like, 2nd grade? I can wing it. And I went up to the board and I was like, I can't do it. And so I said, okay, kids, go color. And I went and I looked at it and I couldn't do it. So in that process, when that little niche, it was God showing me, hey, you got some gaps you're missing in your education. And so I taught myself. And that's when it all really started to the start of the process, the start of identity of Tamika, and as well as being a teacher. Because being a teacher is not you always given to the kids or the students. If you pay attention and humble yourself, you're learning something back.
Absolutely. They're really here to show us something.
They really are.
They really are.
And that's one thing I would tell teachers. Listen, humble yourself and see what the message is in. If you're Christian, I am. See what God is saying. Because you'll be surprised, like at the end of the year, you learned something. And it was a growth for you to go to the next level.
Right.
So that's how it was for me.
So you recognized in yourself, we'll get right back to the kids in a second. And I know it all
ties in.
It all ties in together. But does this lead to your own aha moment of, you mentioned your gaps, gaps of education. And was there something, whether it's in the dyslexia realm, something that you recognized that you had been missing throughout your whole upbringing and going through school?
Absolutely. Remember that little thing I told you was missing? That's what it was, too. I did not know I had dyslexia.
So let's talk about that, because one of the things that is part of how we got introduced to this very show is on that topic. And you just had a major event for awareness and funding for your group and everything else. But there are some crazy statistics and assumptions. Now, my thought was, okay, being taught somebody is dyslexic, that's because they flip their letters. But school us. That's actually semi or none true.
That's semi, but it's not the the real picture.
Is it a bigger umbrella of processing?
Absolutely.
And are there different levels and layers?
It's definitely, as one of my friends put it, just how autism have a spectrum, there's certain level. It's the same thing with dyslexia. And it's not just words being looked at backwards. It's a cognitive disorder, meaning that one part of our brain is stronger than the other. So the academic logic side, whatever way that is, I don't know, that side seems to fire off neurologics different, slower. It takes us a little bit longer at times. Even right now, I have to think and make sure that I'm processing what you're saying so I can understand and say it. Speak your whatever question you have. You'll see me sometimes slow down on thinking. And it's because of how my brain is. But my visual side, it's monumental. I'm a visionary. And I put things together, visionary. I'm a visual person. Because as a trainer, I would visualize it and I got it. I never understood that. Now I got it. Oh my gosh. But even as I used to get in, I didn't write down people's workouts. I knew it. And that made me the top trainer of all the company I work for.
That's spectacular.
So that's the difference. So you can see it, dyslexia, as a disability, but it's
really not. Right. It's so not. And this is another thing. Tell us about your podcast. I'll throw this right in because I was listening to it and getting so educated myself. And to what you were just saying, one of these nuggets has to do with misperceptions, but it was also, now I'm having my own brain fart, but having to do with, in that spectrum, it's in the processing and the neurological differences, and whether it is, maybe there's a dysgraphia and it has to do with what you're thinking. Does it come out your arm and on a piece of paper or on a computer? That's a whole thing as well. But what you were just talking about is these are not, you're about to fail diagnoses. These are not, they might feel disruptive, but one of the things you had talked about, that there was a teacher that told a kid and their family, oh, you'll never amount to anything. This sticks with you forever. When really, no, it doesn't. There are resources and our brains can learn and recompute, literally.
Our brains are neuroplastic. So you can rewire it. It's almost like working out. You stop working out, you don't reach your goal, or you don't accomplish, or you don't do whatever that working out requires, the goals you can reach. Same thing with the brain. You got to exercise it. Neuroplastic, it's rewiring, it's forming, it's creating, it's building a muscle. So I have this little joke when I'm tutoring or doing an intervention, and my student hold their head. I'd be like, you feel like your brain grew or hurt? Does it hurt? He said, yes. I said, that's good. That's a workout. You could take a break now. Let them take a break. But it was exercising their brains to continuously feed in information and build it to be stronger. That's all it was.
That's great. So from your own awareness, when you're already a master's level, and maybe even continuously, because you were talking about when you were writing on the board with the second graders, that where are the gaps of education? So walk us through some of these statistics, because there are lots of conversations and fundraising and everything in the schools for all kinds of scenarios. But dyslexia and its spectrum and umbrella is really quiet and by the wayside. Is that right?
It is. It's very quiet. And it's bothering.
It's undetected. It's untested. It's undetected.
It's unevaluated, yes. And what's bothering is that there are organizations that would have a read program. I am so bothered. Who you're reading to? What is the benefit and the effect that you're having on a child just by reading to them? It bothers me. And even in the school system, what methods what strategies, what methodology are you using to take this one child and say, wow, you can't read. Let's intervene and do this. I'm not seeing that.
So again, with the word gap, because it's great to read to kids, but what you're saying is there's a gap beyond that, because
right now,
does the parent, does the teacher understand? Do the kids comprehend what you're saying?
Exactly. Or what they do is picture read. That is so disadvantage. It's such a disadvantage because I'm just saying, if we reversed it and have the child read, they'll look at the picture and read from the picture.
Oh,
but if you cover it, they're like, even vice versa. So you have to train your child to not only read and comprehend. So the reading method, it's not proven to be really effective. What's effective is when you read to them, what did we read about?
Can you tell me what this story was
Can you tell me what
about?
the
What
story
was
is
your
about?
favorite part?
What was your favorite part? But reading is, it's good. It's not bad. But but when do we stop and then get to the point of, I need to make sure you comprehend? Because guaranteed, by the time you hit a certain grade, that storytelling stuff is not going to work. You have to know strategic strategies on how to comprehend. So it's better to ask you, ask my niece, 3, 4 years old, what's going on in the story? The red man, whatever comes out her mouth, I'm like, that's good. She's getting the foundations of comprehending. If she needs to be redirected or take a break, go take a break. But you're going to come back and do this. And that's the best way to do it. Ask them what they read.
That gets into engagement. And so one of the other things that we were talking before we sat down is you have as a, for instance, student, a child.
Yes.
Who is, I don't know if had already been formally diagnosed. And is he in high school, or this is the second grade still, elementary?
No, this is high school.
So this is high school. This is even, somehow it just feels even more important, because for the high schooler to come and be vulnerable and tell us about this moment where he didn't want to leave your office.
Yeah. I saw him, and usually I have to go in to the office, but I pulled him in to my office, and we were there longer than our usual session. And I'm like, okay. I didn't realize how much he needed me. So I let him stay. He wanted to stay. And so throughout the session, he just basically said, can I stay here longer? Because this is where I feel safe. And that's when it really dawned on me that he needs more than, we need to pay more attention to him. So that's what I did. So I had to rearrange some things and then check in and then teach him how to advocate for himself. You can feel safe with me, but it was all about teaching him how to advocate for himself and know, yes, you learn differently. That's okay. Okay. I learned differently. You learn differently, and being okay with that. So I wanted him to transition from not being afraid to understanding who he is so he can do better in class. But right now we have him doing tutoring at least twice a month with me on the outside to get him so he's able to be on grade level.
So tell us in that moment that he was saying to you, I don't feel safe, or I feel stupid. This is most of our things. Like I spent time in my own educational years thinking I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough.
Oh, he did say that. Yeah.
All the things because I had my own gaps that I wasn't performing, and teachers would say, but your hands up and you know all these things. Why can't you write me a paper? I just couldn't. Or that was my gap.
That was your,
but you start feeling bad about yourself.
Anxiety kicks up.
Right. It kicks up. And so if this young man coming up was going through, and now he's in high school. So how long has he been feeling this way? If he's feeling I'm not the same as everybody, and are the teachers paying attention? I think that was what I was hearing in your other podcast. Part of this story was that he was just not feeling seen and heard.
He wasn't.
And that's why he needed you in that moment.
This all started from elementary school years, from what I was told. And yes, he was not getting it. He wasn't. And during our conversation, he did mention how he felt with, I don't want my mom or anybody to think I'm dumb. The quietness that shows that he felt ashamed. He felt different. He did. And definitely I can understand that. And I think that's why I have that kind of connection, because like I said, I was that student as well. It doesn't feel good to be called on if you can't read or you can't comprehend the same as anybody else. In our classroom setting,
because half the time the teachers think a kid is lazy or disruptive and all these other things and I get that the teachers are busy and they've got a lot of kids, but this goes back to what you were saying. Can a teacher plus administration, can they really see and really hear each individual child that they have in their class? Like
Yes.
They could, but you're finding many of them just don't or
not.
won't. Okay, right.
I don't know what the real reason is, But as an educator, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
You can. And I think a lot of it have to do with humbling yourself and knowing that you don't have all the answers and being okay with other people help. I see a lot of pride. I'm sorry. That's the truth. Teachers are prideful. The ones that I encountered, they think they know it all. And it's let's work together as a team for this generation. If your method is not working, I remember being in a classroom, going to another teacher who was more seasoned, experienced, whatever, asking them, can I sit in your classroom and see what you're doing? I might not take everything that you're doing, but there's something that I can possibly take. I don't see that happening. So I think collectively, there needs to be a strong teaching strategy or methodology that's used, and we all use it in your capacity of what works for you for your student. And so I think that'll avoid a lot of these gaps on these grades dropping.
So let's talk about, I guess we'll hold off on the statistics, but they're pretty frightening. But in terms of what is the core that each student is supposed to know, and I'm throwing that out there in terms of all the testing and what the expectations are, and maybe how curriculum keeps changing, and the teachers may be having a hard time keeping up. And are the textbooks even the same as when you and I were coming up? Or what is, you had mentioned before, are they teaching vocabulary anymore or not? Are they the basics to give these kids foundations? Like, what has changed that is, some of it's helpful, but where that's the gap again.
They took out spelling and vocabulary and handwriting and cursive. You remember that?
That's right.
Yeah.
So to have the tangible something to hold on to versus the click of these buttons. And most kids don't even have the computers to do all the clicking.
And multiplication.
Really?
Yes. I've seen it. I've seen when I tutored, I remember a girl, because you usually learn multiplication by third grade. This particular student, I tutored her the whole summer. She was ready. I saw her homework. She had distributed properties, commutative property. I'm like, where's the multiplication? So I had the mother contact the school to find out. She said, oh, we expected you to teach her that's multiplication. And so I thought that was odd. We did our multiplication. She learned them. I said, Mom, she needs to know them back and forth. I don't care, because multiplication is the foundation for math. And so now today I have students, alarming number, majority, all of them don't know multiplication.
And these are high school kids.
Middle school, high school kids, tutoring. Yes, they don't know multiplication. So I'm like, how do you guys do simplifying and fractions and all those other stuff that comes out of multiplication?
They don't. Now, what would the schools be saying? Are they assuming there's calculators and computers, and why have a human have to know that? Is that kind of the way things are going in some way?
I don't know, but I think in high school they expect them to, and it's fair to them to feel that way. They're expecting them by the time they get to high school to know that.
Did they forget to have the conversation with the elementary school?
Or the middle school? Yeah.
Or the middle school to say, oh, sorry, did you get that memo? We're not teaching that.
No, they didn't get that memo. And hats off to the teachers, because we do the best that we can. And when you come into a high school, the mind is already, I have to teach according to what I have to teach for you to take the EOC. So to their defense, it's truly not their fault. So it's not here to bash teachers or anything like that, but I understand. But where do we go to feel that? Because one thing with multiplications that I realized with having that dyslexia is that it makes your brain think more logical. It makes more, just the fact of doing multiplication in my head, it does something to my brain. I don't know, and I can't explain it. But I know that is something that they do need to know. And doing it on their fingers or manipulations, and I don't know. It's not helpful to someone with dyslexia or without.
Heard. I get that. Let's talk a little bit more about your Achievement Learning Center, Impact Achievement Learning Center, and the event that you had. And again, it ties into what are a few core things that you would love to see incorporated, that these are some gap things, like a child needs to know this and this. that would really help. You started to talk about, well, you can read to a child, but are you understanding that they may not be comprehending? So is it comprehension and blah, 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 blah? What are some key things that we all and our listeners could take away from to understand, oh, my kid or my grandkid or so-and-so student isn't hitting these marks. Maybe we should test for the dyslexia.
So you're asking me, what are some of the
either signs? Yeah, educationally, some markers
to determine. For one, if you're like the comprehension, definitely check that.
Yeah.
The ones I've encountered is the grading. If they're having bad grades and they have tutoring and they still getting bad grades, that's a sign.
There's something off.
There's something else. That should be okay. If I'm spending for tutoring and my child is still not moving, they get an assessment 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. If you're still getting an assessment and it's still saying that child is on kindergarten level, which does happen, then that is not the time to blame the child.
Right.
That is the time to say, okay, we need to look further into this as to what's going on. Number 2, if they're acting out behavior-wise, they get frustrated while doing homework. You see them trying and they're getting frustrated. Mm-hmm. Just natural signs to see what's going on with your child that you may say, I need to get you evaluated. Because it could be ADHD. It can be dyslexia. One of my guest speakers, Tara Wallace, spent $3,000 on a dyslexia evaluation. And she said that was the best investment she ever did. I knew of a principal who was hard on her daughter. Come to find out, when she got evaluated, it was her hearing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
And she cried because she said, I was so upset with her. I'm smart. Her daddy's smart. We couldn't understand why she wasn't understanding until she got her hearing tested. And your hearing is connected to your processing.
Of course.
So she found out that way.
Wow. And sometimes it's eyeglasses. I know a friend of mine didn't know that she just couldn't see. So she felt dumb and a few other things until one day something happened where either somebody called her out to say, why are you squinting? But she wasn't even squinting. It was just nobody knew. And this was well into middle school, I think.
Yeah. And for me, I have to read it, see it, touch it. I have to activate all my senses to understand it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough for me in the classroom. The teacher goes over it on the board and I take notes. I'm like, no, I didn't get it. And I thought I did. Mm-hmm. Oh, I got this. Boom, F. And I couldn't figure out. So I had to go through a series of anxiety, even up to getting my teacher certification. Mm-hmm. It was timed.
Yeah, that's complicated too. But imagine coming in through school and you're trying your hardest. Mm-hmm. You had that experience. You've done the very best you can. There's no lazy, there's no cartoons, there's no. And then you get an F. And of course the attitude of the teachers are thinking, did you slough off or whatever? Mm-hmm. That's rough. And again, with the statistics, because here's somebody who has $3,000 to invest in their testing. Not everybody has that.
No.
And do the schools provide the testing, or where, again, are there more gaps in terms of the populations and who's being seen and who needs even broader services?
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And the services, like you said, $3,000 is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
To say, and then the population I work with, that is not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So what do we do? The thing, what we need to do is what we have, we just need to alter it. That's it. And I think that we don't have to pay $3,000. All we have to do is train our teachers and maybe they switch up curriculum all the time, just the right curriculum for these type of students. Mm. I just think it can be resolved within.
That there's a simpler fix than, okay, now go get a $3,000 evaluation. That you have been describing actually steps along the way that could then inherently help along the way. And the first one was being humble enough to listen and really pay attention to these kids.
That's key.
I think that's very true. So again, Impact Achievement Learning Center, what do you all do there?
What do? We do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. We do reading intervention.
Okay.
I'm not dyslexia certified, but I do intervention. Mm-hmm. So if 2 days 2 times a month. I'm at the Rivera Beach Library. And then I have my social teen talk. And that came out of...
That's your podcast.
That's my podcast, but it's more than a podcast.
Yeah.
We do activities throughout the year.
Oh, great.
That involve social interaction, communicating to one another, being a safe place for those in need. And the social teen talk came about to help other teens outside our community. So you'll hear two students around teenage talk about various issues that's on their heart, and they're not afraid to talk about it to help other people. So that's the reason why I did that. And then I have a first generational program, and these are students who are first in their household to go to college. They're smart. They just don't have the knowledge or the resources or the understanding as to what to do next to go to college. And for that, I provide that service. And last year alone, different range of help, but we sent 21 students.
Fantastic.
To 4-year university.
Wow.
And we paid for their dorm essentials.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And our population here, and I know all across the country, there's different, I don't know what's the word, mainstream. There's mainstream, and then there are the hidden children. There are literally hidden neighborhoods that you drive by and you don't know that there are thousands of people and families and children.
Absolutely.
And how are they getting educated, and what are their opportunities? And yes, many are immigrants or the underserved and homeless, and you name it. There's a huge population.
Absolutely.
And so you are one of the many groups trying to help these folks.
Yep.
What would you say? We mentioned about resources, and yes, there are resources around, but again, are there gaps? Who's listening? We have the school board systems. You have our government systems. Are the agencies talking with each other to make a clearer path?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Sometimes we want to be able to say yes, but maybe not.
I think they do know.
Yeah.
I think they do. It's just that it's not being spoken about more of. That's why I decided going forward, dyslexia awareness is in the month of October. But I want to continue. I want to keep bringing people to these events. I want to keep making awareness about it. We had 2 school board members that came to my event.
Oh, great.
They heard everything.
That's fantastic.
And one of the things they needed to hear, which I'm going to say right now, is that 80% of Palm Beach County students are not reading.
That's the statistic. I wanted to hear that. There was something that I heard in your podcast when I was listening. That was it.
Yes.
Because that is shattering.
So what it is as a whole.
Like reading A at all, B at grade level, or tell me like what
grade level.
Okay.
It's reading, okay.
The proficiency.
The proficiency.
Do they comprehend? Are they able to really move on and understand?
80% no. And from my encounter, it's fairly large. Just based on my experience, every student I have encountered within the underserved community, I would say 90% that I'm around can't read. So we see the 54% that the district, claims that we're doing good. But when you abstract those schools and where they're located, and then do your own statistics within that area, that's where those numbers come from. And this is from the DO.
And this is just one area of Florida, and this is a global show. And at least stateside, we know that there are these issues everywhere. Are you familiar, maybe yes or no, about how things are in other states? One of the things I mentioned to one of my guests recently, we were talking about trades and other things, and when education came up, for instance, here in Florida, especially Palm Beach County, we do get to have magnet schools and charter schools, and there's other flavors of schools that you can attend depending on what your interests are, what the kids' interests are, and not so much in other places, say Massachusetts or other states where each school district is its one town. Yep, this is one town, and they don't have those kinds of resources or the number of children to say, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm going to have an arts school or a vocational school. So we do benefit here, but again, where are those gaps still, where just within the educational realm, and where are the new textbooks, or who the governments are that are saying, yeah, we're going to make sure that every kid gets a laptop computer, because they've shoved everything online. But going back to what you were saying before, that's great, except if they don't know, if their household doesn't know how to work a computer. What good is that?
Exactly. That's another topic right there when it comes to computers. When I was in the classroom, I didn't use them.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We're going to get to the rebel part of the show because you are a rebel. You and the other folks that you had on your episode recently of your, you guys are rebels.
Yeah.
And it was good. It's good stuff because, and I think it was you and not one of your guests that said, this is our mandate as a teacher. I'm going to go off script here. That's you. I'm going off script because this is what my kids need.
They weren't there.
And
how are you going to tell me what to do with my students when you're not there? I'm with them 7 hours a day.
Right.
You just looking at numbers.
That was the other point. Is it become a numbers game and it's data driven and the computers are run and the testing is on a computer versus on a piece of paper still.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big issue for me. I believe in computer technology, but I also believe that it's a hindrance to or detrimental to our learning.
Okay. Do you think the littles should be still with less computers than the teens?
Absolutely.
Because they need those they need that tactile foundation, maybe? I'm no expert. I'm not going to profess to say, but we know that there's something is amiss here somehow.
It is. If you tell a kindergarten to take an assessment on a computer, I had one that was she was terrified and she failed. And the teacher brought up that, she's below grade level in kindergarten when she didn't know how to hold a mouse. And that's a start of, I said, do not. And she was believing what the teachers were saying. I said, or the school, whatever. I said, do not listen to them. I know your daughter. I've been working with her for over a year. She is great. And I had to keep putting that in her ear because they'll give you such a printout of what you don't know or what you do know.
Oh, and those then little assessment check boxes.
Yes. Yeah. And so some parents, they really believe that. But I said, whatever her name, no. She can't hold the mouse. So how you expect her to click on the right answer? She can't read the questions. You got to read the questions to her. So please do not get sucked in to that belief and starting your daughter's life off of her being below grade level in kindergarten. So no, technology to me should be used as a supplement, not primary.
Because you're finding these ripple effects? Is that what you're saying? Or that they're because, I don't know, maybe
they're using it as primary source.
They're using it as primary source.
Traditionally, you're up in front of the classroom, you teach.
Oh, so even the teachers are getting used to these computers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or you have the children, depending on the classroom setting, they have the computers up on YouTube or wherever else while the teacher's teaching. Either way. So when I saw that, when I taught high school, no computers, no phones, no computers. We're going to paper and pen and a book because I couldn't compete with it. I couldn't compete with it.
And how did your kids do?
They disliked me at first, but I had something's coming back. I had a student. When I taught high school, I taught to prepare for college, 9th grade. When I taught 2nd grade,
to really prepare for college, not just pass tests.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. They had to pass the FSA, but SATs. So I had a student who came back to me. She went to FAM. She said, I just have to call and thank you. I was like, for what? You taught me college writing and this is what we're doing. Thank you for putting the computers away and forcing me to write because that is all I'm doing now.
Wow.
I think ahead as a visionary. Right. Part of my dyslexia, I think ahead. Okay, I got these high school students. I know what college is like. Why are we still writing 5 paragraphs? We should be doing college has say what we're doing first and foremost.
Yeah.
No.
The old 5
Yeah. No.
And
in summary.
And in
yes. No. That's foundational. I said that's what I taught my 2nd graders.
That's a good start. And now
it's time to college writing requires you to take the writing and put it into your own words. That's
with your own thought process.
With your own thought process. That's how I got good at it. I would read and just write what's first thing in my draft paper. Then I write the whole thing clean. Yeah. So that's what I taught them. Things they needed for the future.
So you are a visionary.
I'm a big visionary.
And the term dyslexia is not a quote unquote educational jail sentence. which
Absolutely.
a lot of people would say almost any medical or mental health, whatever, these diagnoses sometimes gives people this rubber stamp to say, that means nothing is going to change.
Can I add something to that?
Sure, please do.
It's also a handicap.
And which is not.
Yeah. So yeah, I met so many parents who couldn't afford it. Oh, I need to make sure that little Johnny still have his accommodations because he got dyslexia. I got to make sure he has his accommodation when he gets to college. What? What do you mean accommodations? He needs to be activated in his gift. And what is his gift? Why are you hindering him?
Got it. That's the flip. You were
Yes.
mentioning about let's flip the narrative. Let's flip the whole thing here. So speak more about that.
Yes.
So let's tap into the gift of it all and how you're thinking and how you're processing and
just finding a way that works for you.
And then you can fly.
You can fly. Let little Johnny go and let him find his way. You be there like any good parent would. You there. It's like you got to take off some of the muddly and just let them be. But it's sometimes the opposite. Because little Johnny has dyslexia, now I got to make sure everything is good for him because, he just can't write. He can write. It's just let him practice or whatever. Anything you practice, you get good at.
So no sense of clipping the wings.
At all.
Right.
No, let him find. I used to be frustrated because I did not know what I was good at. And I wanted it so bad. So when I was a trainer, I'm like, why am I so good at this? Why I don't have to write it down. I visually see it. And so over the course of years, I realized I may not be good academic, but I can put things together and be really good at it. That's my gifting. So I would encourage parents to that's the thing, find your child's gifting. All my boys, I know they're gifting. I know all of them. And I have a funny story. One of my twins, he went to school to be a pre-medical doctor. I looked at him like, that's what you want to do? He recently called me and said, Mom, I switched to philosophy and logic and doing something in history. I said, I know. He's like, why wouldn't you tell me? I said, you had to figure it out on your own. I know. As parents, we should know the giftings of our children. One of my sons, he could do math in his head like it's nobody's business. You could throw any math problem. He go, that's the answer. I said, what? That's my job as a parent, to figure out his gifting. I knew one of my sons is going to be a politician because he talked too much. And everything is a question.
Everything is on debate team or any of that?
He won the debate team.
Of course.
And he's a great public speaker.
Oh, fantastic.
So when he went to Harvard, had some kind of internship, and this is Harvard. This is real estate position. I'm going to try it out. I was like, okay. Mom, I hate it. I know. Yeah. That's not you. So I know all my children. And I would encourage every parent to not focus on the problem, but focus on the gift. Focus on their intelligence. Listen to them, hear them, sit with them, it's our job to figure that out. And that's what I did. And that's what I do to all my students. I said, academics is important, but what's your gifting? Can I tell you one more story?
Of course. Mike is yours.
Oh, Mike is mine?
Yep.
It's coming up.
Yep. Good.
Recently, I have a student. She sent me mind you, she finished high school in 9th grade.
She finished high school in 9th grade.
Oh, she's an overachiever. And that was an alarm for me. I'm like, who does that? She's an overachiever, perfectionist.
So was she not having fun with it? Is that what you're saying? Like, they're smart, fly, and then was there something else that you were catching? There was something else.
I'm like, oh, okay. Red flag. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I loved it. And so she sent me her college letter. And then I said, so it asked her, why do you want to be a doctor? Because of soccer, this or that. I said, hold on, that doesn't make any sense. I said, you're not telling the truth. This letter, this essay is not a reflection of you. It sounds like you are trying to impress somebody, or it was definitely that. I said, what is the truth? What makes you happy? In the back of my head, I knew what it was. She said, I want to open up a chef. I want to be a chef and open up a business, but I can't because my father wants me to be a doctor.
And there's still that going.
Yeah.
And God bless the parents, always trying to do their best, but this goes back to listen to the children.
Listen to the children.
Listen to the children.
Look, pay attention to their gift, And so recently she did wonderful with this bakery, and I'm like, Okay. And she looked at me. I looked at her. I said, it's never over. She said, thank you, Miss Taylor. That was it. But
so is she baking now? Is she cooking?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
She cooks a little bit.
Yeah.
But is that what being a doctor, is that what she really wants to do? No. So I bring up these stories and how it correlates to what we're talking about today. And as parents, teachers, you have to pay attention to what our students need, our children need. Don't focus on or hinder the gift. Expound on it.
Exactly. And then what came to mind is, I know there are a lot of parents who are very rightfully, they're busy. They're juggling work. Maybe they're worried that they don't have work. Next paycheck. Right. They don't understand the language, right? Especially with the children who are first generations here. And yet you can still really pay attention because it comes from our heart anyway.
Absolutely.
Firstly. And then what would you say to the harried household that is busy or worried or overwhelmed or any of these other adjectives, that there's still a way to see? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're a mother, you're a father, you have an instinct. I was recently watching a movie and the child had all the signs, regardless. The mother was in school, the father was working, the mother was all that. And I'm like, nobody see this boy suicidal?
Who's looking?
Who's asking questions?
Right. Do you really need to be that busy to not really look?
Exactly. No, I would not allow my children, even my students, to come into my office or come in my space and I sense something, not say nothing. I don't care how tired I'm so tired at times. What's going on? Nothing. I said, you're not telling the truth. What's going on? I said, something else going to speak to you and tell you lies. I'd rather you hear the truth from me than they speak. So you're never too busy. It's our job.
You're so right. You're never too busy. But to be that non-judgmental
safe space.
So you're a safe space and people can come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah. That's what little joke my son used to say, Mom, we're going to be married together. I said, no, we're not. I said, what about be best friends? He said, yes. Okay, I can take that, Mommy. And today he'll say, yeah, that's my best friend. And that's how because I became that safe space because I never had it. Now I always promise myself, if I have children, if I'm being around kids, I'm going to make sure I'm at that safe place for them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I know how it feels not to have it. Yeah.
But, and I have to add this part too, is that what I'm gathering is that you are the healthy friend, because we hear a lot of parents and there's whole shows and movies about if you can't be a good parent if you are their best friend, because as in their peer, as in all that kind of stuff. There's a difference from what you are. There's a huge difference in what you're saying. You are their support. You're here. You have their back.
Yeah, I'm dealing with one right now. I said, I'm not your friend. If you're not in my office tomorrow by 8 a.m.
Right.
And clarify what's going on, I'm calling Mom. Your grades are dropping. That is not you. You better be. It's not. Please. You better be in my office by 8 o'clock. Right. I just had this conversation before getting on here. Or I'm calling Mom and email them. I got to respond so quick. Okay, I'll be there 8. Yeah.
Right. So it's that loving boundary setting.
Boundaries. Gotta have them, because a lot of my students come from where they can't have that.
They just can't.
They can't. So they like to, not just me, I'm sure there's other teachers, they do that. That's why teaching and educators are so important. We're the ones that change the direction of their life.
It could be a coach. It's always a teacher. And you can change, you can help or hinder. Because like the teachers that are mean, or they say things like, you'll never get any better because you have such and such diagnosis. Absolutely. That's one trajectory. And then you have others that, I see you and I believe in you.
Yeah.
And now let's get to work.
Let's get to work. That's me.
And that's you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tamika, it feels like we're going to round out this particular episode. I know we could talk forever and ever. What else would you like to say? Would you like to talk more about, or what is it that you need? Do you need something for your center? Do you need something for your podcast show for the teens? How can we as a community help you?
I need funding. I want to be able to help the children that I can help. But on the back end, it requires funding. The the teachers or hire another personnel, resources to help. I have children right now that I can't help in service because I need another teacher. I need funding for this purpose. And I want it to grow and be that place where our children can come to and learn, or to add on to what they're getting at school, to also be that after school tutoring, after school intervention, after school mentoring, and just to keep it going requires money.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
And
more conversations.
And more conversations like this. Of the event that you had was to come and hear us, and let's then continue the conversation.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing another one before the end of the year.
Cool.
So,
do you have the name of it already?
I don't yet, okay, but I would definitely share it with you.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can go on my website. It will be there on impactachievementcenter.com.
Cool.
And there'll be more information there.
Wonderful. And your podcast show again?
It's
Social Teen Talk.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tamika Taylor. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for listening, everybody. Please be sure to follow, review, and share this podcast. And if you'd like to be part of the conversations, send emails to podcast@lastingconversations.com and find us on Facebook at Lasting Conversations. This is Lasting Conversations. We get to the heart of everything.